This is Boxing Tickets NA in association with Villain Gentlemen. We've got the main man of Boxing Ireland Promotions back, Leonard Gunning. How are you, Leonard?
I'm not the main man anymore. After the weekend, Dennis and Stephen are the main men.
You're taking the back seat too much, son.
I'm number 3. I'm number 3 in the pecking order now. Number 3 in the pecking order.
And we're going to put a warning out here to anybody at the very start. If they've seen obviously the last interview, they'll be glad to know it's going to be nowhere near that length, because we've both been given our final warnings at home for being on the computer for too long.
No, yeah, we'll keep it short and sweet this time.
Definitely will. The obviously last time we spoke was obviously after the Luxembourg card, and it was probably a card that you wanted to forget. Obviously from sitting from minute one, the finished on Saturday night, I must say what a difference Alicante was.
Big difference, wasn't it? Big difference in the reaction. Like that was very Luxembourg was very sterile. It was a big hall. You probably is good when there's a crowd there, but when there's no crowd, it's just a big community centre, But Alicante, a small venue they had there, and even though we didn't have many fans, we were limited to 200. We only had 100 there, and then there was probably about 100 officials and boxers and trainers and blah blah blah, family members and media guys. So there was probably 200 people there in total, which was made a massive difference. I think the capacity of the place is about 400. So that's it was good to have a crowd in there. Made it massive difference, and the compactness of that venue. We would go back there. I think we had plans to go back there, and we had a lot of people approach us late in the day that are going to assist us with the next one, which is what we definitely need, because we sort of bit off more than we could chew. I think I know nobody noticed from the outside. Everyone looking in, so, oh, that's great, everything looks great, weigh-in look great, show look great, blah blah blah. But if you were there fight week with us, you'd know the hassle and the drama and the nightmare of putting on a show. It's difficult enough anyway. You know that in Ireland. You see how many people announce shows and they never happen. Like, this is doing a show in a different country where none of you are based, for the first time ever. Bloody difficult to pull off. Really difficult to pull off. And we definitely wouldn't have been able to pull it off without the sponsorships, as sponsors of our own sponsors. G-Force Fitness in Dublin and Dublin Plumbing and Gas, Dave Murphy. Like, without them, and then without the boxers' own individual sponsors, we just couldn't have had a show. Like I said, we had 100 people in there. We probably need about 600 or 700 people to pay for that show, easy. So it was very difficult, and also there was like 3 or 4 pro shows on in Spain that weekend. So it's like, God, all the journeymen were sort of soaked up. So fight week on like Tuesday or Wednesday, we were down to like 7 fights, because we no opponents. From 14, we had 14 fights at the time, 7 of them with opponents, 7 of them without opponents on fight week. Difficult. Like I say again, you're not in your own home territory. It's so hard to organize stuff when you're not there and you haven't done it there before. So we got loaded late replacements. Some of them very good, some of them not so good. But I think the quality of the fights turned out a lot better than
very, very good.
Than I would have wanted, to be honest with you. Yeah, I would have preferred it to be to have some weaker opponents for some of the lads. But it was a fine line between pulling fights and bringing in those opponents that we did get in the end. So difficult. And before we get on to the show and like that, it was like poor Cathy McAleer. It's like she had an absolute nightmare. So fight week, her first opponent, Natasha Boyes, pulled off with an injury. So I was like, her fight's dead in the water. You never get a replacement for a woman. It's very difficult to get an opponent for a woman. It's almost impossible to get a replacement. But we did. We got this Carly, something, I can't remember her second name now, she's from England. Got her, and then she failed the COVID test. Like before she's forced to fly out. So it's like, shit, right, okay. And then we're like, it's dead in the water. It's like weighing day. You're not going to get an opponent now. But we smashed the phones. We sell Stephen Sharp, Kelly Maloney, smashing the phones while Dennis was off driving all around Spain. Dennis drove for like 12 hours that day, like airport into Alicante, out to the venue, to the weigh-in, to the hotel, to the airport. Like 12 hours that guy was driving. He was gone haywire. But we found an opponent in Hungary for Cathy, which was brilliant. And the Spanish board wouldn't allow it because it was too late. But then we battled and we battled and we battled and we battled. And we, at great expense, got it passed. And then we got all the authorizations in. And then we got the last bits of paperwork by 11:30 that night. And we booked their flights at midnight on Friday night. And then 5 a.m, I got woke up by a flight saying she wasn't getting on by a phone call saying she wasn't getting on the flight, that she had a fever. And we're like, that was it. That was dead in the water. But it was just so disappointing. And could have done without that. We could have been doing other things on the show to promote the show all that day, instead of not wasting our time, but using all the resources and time that we had, like trying to get a match that in the end never happened. So that was extremely disappointing. So that was a bad start to the day. What can you do? But then, we got over to the venue. We still had 12 fights. Brilliant.
12 fights, yeah.
12 fights, yeah. So that was really good. I was really, really happy that we got that many over the line. We thought we'd end up with like 10 or 11, because of COVID and being away from home and sponsors, being so reliant on sponsors and not ticket sales. It's very difficult. So 12 fights, very good. Very happy with to get that many, on the show. Brilliant.
And I guess obviously the show had obviously a bit of everything. You'd probably Julio Cesar obviously probably could have been stopped with the first punch of the fight. I know obviously between the end of the first round and the start of the second, you'd sort of obviously the fear because he'd already been badly hurt. But obviously he was going to really, really badly hurt, and how he stayed up on his feet after the first initial exchange probably shows the sort of person Julio is, that he'd go through anything for that. You had Alan O'Connor that had, in my eyes, and I've sort of said to you since, he was a clear winner. He won 3 rounds to 1. Marty Quinn obviously had obviously a really tough match, but again, when you don't know the opponents and sort of get ones on late notice, and then you'd obviously standout ones. Like I thought Dylan Wilson was superb.
Yeah. Like to start off the show, I suppose let's start off with the 2 lads that made their debut. They're always the ones that I'm most nervous for, the lads making their debut. Yeah, because I don't know that as much about them as I do with the other guys, because I've not seen them. And also they've got so much nerves. And I expect there's so much going on with a debut that you don't need you don't want a tough fight. You need it. You get a free pass in your debut. The second fight, then you're off the leash. Do you know what I mean? But the first one, you try and make it as easy as possible. Everything stacked in the favor of the debutant. And that's what but I'm still the most nervous for them because they might freeze or whatever. Now, Dylan Taylor did not freeze. He went to work. Good shot selection, aggressive, pushing the guy back, bit open, got caught a few times. It was a really entertaining fight. There was an awful lot of entertaining fights. An awful lot of entertaining fights. 2 entertaining for my heart rate. You know, I prefer to see them a bit more under control, and the opponents being having their heads boxed off. You know, that at least then I know they're clicking up the rounds and they're definitely gonna win. You know, so I was yeah. So the fair play to Dylan. You know, and Kenny Egan was so happy at the end of the fight. You could see how happy he was. It was brilliant. So that was good that he got that out of the way, and he'll be looking to get out again before the end of the year, no doubt. And seems like a nice kid. And then Alan, like, he was the other guy I was nervous about. And now he weighed in light, much lighter than he said he was going to weigh in. But like, again, that's another derivative of it being a debut. You know, they don't know exactly how much weight they're going to shed, and that's why I continually ask them. But he came in quite a bit later than I thought he was going, a bit lighter than I thought he was going to do. So your man had a bit of size advantage on him. So I was a bit worried from the weigh-in about that one. And your man came in over the weight that was agreed, and then we made him lose weight. He lost almost a kilo in an hour. So fair play, right? He knocked it all off. I think he was 0.2 or 0.3 over the agreed weight. So 200 or 300 grams, we'll accept that, no problem. But Alan was much lighter than we thought he was going to be. So if I'd have known about that, I probably would have got rid of that opponent, got a different opponent, you know, and with hindsight or with that knowledge. But even though I was worried about that, he came out and he fucking boxed really well in the first round. And he actually nearly stopped him in the first round. He caught him, wobbled Palacios, chased after him, followed up with some nice shots. Definitely won that round. I was actually it was like a weight off my shoulder at the end of that round. I was so happy. Then your man came back into it. You know, it was a very close second round. Then Alan came back into it, and I won the third round. And then your man came on with his size in the fourth round and maybe shaded it. So I was nervous because for me it was all down to whether you gave him that second round or not. If probably on the balance of fairness, I'd probably give him the second round, but I wouldn't argue strongly if someone had that a draw or gave it against them. So that would have been 2 rounds to 1 and 1 even. But if someone had given it a draw, I would have gone, right, okay, fair enough. 2 rounds each, right? Okay, no problem. Or if you'd have given it 3 rounds to 1 to Alan, fair enough. Wouldn't have disagreed with you. But then when the cards were read out, I was like 40-36. I was like, Jesus Christ. You know, all right, okay. And then the other 2, 39-37. And I was like, what? So, and he lost. I was actually really disappointed. And I couldn't believe that one judge didn't give him a single round. Like, there was no way in hell he couldn't have given him a single round. Like, impossible. And I found out the guy's name was Jesus Garcia, yeah, and his name kept popping up throughout the whole show. You know, his name kept popping up throughout the whole show. If there was a weird card or what I would consider a wrong card, it was pretty much this Jesus Garcia guy each time. So his cards were anomalies. I don't know whether his wife went off with an Irishman or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but he definitely had something against us. You know, he definitely had something against us. And
it's not right either, you know.
I was fuming with the guy by the end of the night. Let's put it. I didn't approach him. It's not my place to do that. Approach officials, but I was pretty paid off that the guy had, like, he must have been just scoring just raw aggression, you know. But that's not how you score a fight, you know. Multiple factors. Effective aggression is one of them. Not raw aggression, but there's also the defense, ring generalship, scoring shots, you know. Like, Alan he let himself down a wee bit in terms of he didn't really show clear daylight between them. The rounds were close. Some of the rounds were close. So he should have been a bit more convincing and put a bit more work rate. But he was making his debut, and usually you give the debut guy the bloody benefit of the doubt as well. But he's boxed lovely, but obviously man wasn't, I don't know where he learned how to score around, but he was if you were just coming forward, just throwing shots, he seemed to love that. So I was annoyed about that. But Alan will be back. He's mentally pretty strong guy. Seems to have a very good personality as well. And he took it. He obviously was disappointed at the time, but he was quite philosophical the next day. We had a good chat with him the next day, and he was philosophical. And he'll be back. He'll be back, and he'll be back to winning ways before the end of the year as well.
It's positive to sort of take from me, like sort of from me watching it obviously in the stream. I thought he'd done the first three, and then I thought the corners told him to sort of relax, take it easy, don't go sort of gung-ho, you've got this in the bag. That's what it looked like to me. So whenever you did see the scorecards coming in, you were going, obviously the judges look at that and they go, well, the corner and the fighter know they're well clear, so why would he ease off? That's what it looked to me in the stream. Like he was easing off, so it's in the bag. I'm going to make sure I don't get stopped. I'm not going to blow a gasket. And that's what it looked like to me in the stream. And then when you see the scorecards, you're going, it's like, I know we're going to have the bias, obviously, because, it's your fighter. I'm obviously supporting Irish boxers and things like that, but it's not, when decisions are bad like that in a way, it's the fighter's livelihood. It's a guy making his debut that might go away from him and go, you know what, boxing's not for me, when he has the talent. He's been robbed.
Like even the MC came up to us after it, and he's from the federation. He said that Alan O'Connor won that one. Alan O'Connor won that one. But like I say, he'll be back. He won the fight. In my eyes, he won the fight. He was a winner of that fight. I wouldn't make a rematch because Alan's actually got a weight class below him now. So there's no point in giving your man a rematch because he'd be facing a guy much lighter. So he's learned a lot. He's learned a lot from that, and we'll get him back to winning ways before the end of the year, no problem.
I know we're promising obviously people listening in and stuff like that. We're not going to sort of keep it all.
No, let's whack through them, yeah.
All night. Obviously Kevin Cronin. Obviously I've been speaking to him since. I was actually supposed to have him on this evening. I'll obviously tell you, as I'll tell everybody else that told you, he's fed up spending money on fake tan, and he's decided there's a bit of sunshine in Kerry, so he wanted a bit of sun, so he wanted to reschedule. I think he's been hanging about with Dominic Donegan for too long. He's a bit cheap on it.
Well, I tell you, I know he had a tough fight camp because he was actually up in Sligo, and there's a big fire brigade training centre up here, and he spent a lot of the time here, and he wasn't able to box because they were really running him ragged with regards to all the physical training that they have to do. But he he wasn't an amazing performance, but I thought he boxed well, and I thought he won every round. But again, that Jesus Garcia guy scored at a draw. Like, he didn't drop a round. Didn't drop a round. The other two judges, I think, gave it 40-36. But the Jesus Garcia guy, 38-38. I was like, wow, what's going on there? But anyway, yeah, he'll be back out again for the end of the year. And I'm sure it'll be a slicker performance from him. But he's building his record nicely. And he's getting different bits and pieces of experience. He's been out in Luxembourg, now he's been out in Spain. And the next fight he'll have is back in Ireland. And, he's trying to get it closer and closer to Kerry. And that's the aim, to get to him. Get him an Irish title fight in Kerry, maybe,
And hopefully maybe a step up to 6 rounds, as you had sort of said, and I've sort of made the opinion as well, as he comes on more towards, he's sort of warming up the first couple of rounds.
And normally we wouldn't jump to a 6-rounder this early in a career. Yeah, he's still in the 4-round phase. But I think with Kevin, he does seem to get into his stride after the 2nd or 3rd, So we probably do have to step him up to a 6-rounder. Quick, maybe one more 4-rounder and then jump into the 6s. But yeah, that was that. And then I think we then we had Julio's fight. Now, like I say, Julio was one of the guys whose opponent pulled out late notice, and we had this guy proposed to us, Fernando Aradia, and he was 4 wins and 8 losses. Looked strong enough, but not too dangerous. So we took it at late notice, and Julio's team were happy with that as well. So, right, we went ahead with that, and then he just got caught cold with his hands down. maybe the heat got to him or whatever, but he just got caught early. And I actually, personally, I thought they should have stopped it during that flurry. Don't know if you heard on the stream. I was shouted, ref, like, call it, because I saw that he was hurt from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I felt a bit stupid about a minute and a half after that, because he sort of rallied. He really rallied and kept spoiling and holding and, you know, doing what he could to stay in the fight. But it was ragged and it was ugly, you know. But he was staying in there on sheer determination. But then, right at the very bell, he got clocked again, and I was like, the corner needs to stop this. Stop this fight now, just to save Julio, if not even for another day. Like, he doesn't need to take that kind of punishment at his age. But he's not a really old man, but, you know, in terms of boxing, he's relatively old. So, like, he doesn't need to be taking any more punishment. So I actually wanted the corner to stop the fight at the end of that round. And then when I saw him come out, I was like, God, I can't believe he came back out, you know. It showed a lot of determination and heart from him, but you got to step in and save the boxer. Yeah. And then he got caught again, and they threw the towel in. But it's true that came in too late, in my opinion. And he should have been saved before that. Now, where Julio goes from here, I don't know. We said we had a long chat about it, and I made my feelings very clear to him. And I said, let the dust settle now, and we'll have another chat in 2 weeks. But, you know, he's drinking in the last chance saloon. You know, if he's to continue, which may not be the best idea, you know, that's to be determined. Like, maybe he fights one of the Irish guys, you know, maybe Jamie Morrissey or a rematch with Sean McGlinchey. And, you know, if he doesn't win that, then I would like to see him wrap it up. And that's if he would decide to wrap it up now, I'd support that full-heartedly as well, you know, because boxing isn't worth it. Boxing is definitely not worth it, you know. And, you know, he's got the rest of his life to live. And it wasn't nice to see stoppage like that. It actually really took the wind out of my sails. But like, watching the stream, I was full of chat and crack, you know, during the fights. And then after that, I was like, I didn't feel like it after that, you know, because I don't want to see one of my fighters hurt like that, plain and simple. So, yeah. Let's see. We'll see what happens in his future. But I know he's passionate and all that kind of stuff. And it's sometimes with some boxers, it's like talking to the wall, you know. But I might have to make my own decision on that, you know. But we'll talk when the dust settles. It's probably too early and too raw to really make decisions on that. But we'll see how that one goes.
Looking at, obviously, two guys that we're both making their debuts in Europe, Robert Burke and Daniel Keaton.
Yes. Well, Daniel Keaton is an hour fighter. He was a guest on the show. He's trained by Tony Davitt and managed by Paul Keegan, DDK. And, you know, obviously he's got great pedigree. Tony raves about him. So we were happy to have him on the show. We were happy to have one of Paul's fighters on the show. We work and collaborate. You know this yourself. Most of our shows have been joint promotions. We've always had I doubt there's many fighters on the domestic scene that have not even had at least one fight on the Celtic Clash. You know, our doors are open. Sometimes I feel our doors are way more open to facilitating other people, and it's not always reciprocated. Yeah, which can be annoying sometimes. You know, you sometimes feel like, well, we're doing the heavy lifting. Like, where are the other, and if other people come along, would they put on a load of our fighters after we've carrying the load of domestic Irish boxing for a long time? You know, I don't know, but Paul seems a good guy. We're happy to work with him. Dan, it's a great performance. He won every second of every round. he was never any doubt. And, you know, he's been out of the ring for a little while, and it's his first fight in Europe. So I'm looking forward to his fight, his debut in Ireland. And then, you know, we might see how he gets on.
Mm-hmm.
But then Robbie Burke, you know, I was a bit nervous for Robbie because he's quite a quiet guy, you know. Really nice. He's got a high likability factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, like Frampton. You know, when you meet them, you think people will like him, you know.
Something about them.
But he's got something about him. People will like him, and they'll warm to him, and he'll be popular. Which we need that. We need that. You know, it's like Owen O'Neill. There's no secret in a lot of these guys are ticket sellers, and especially like that don't make big noise on social media. They've got massive likability.
Mm-hmm. So
Robbie Burke's like that. He's got great backing. You know, you got Andy O'Neill in the Crumlin gym and Phil Sutcliffe in the Crumlin gym to really look after him there. And I think with Jay Canny and Martin Quinn being there, he's got a nice couple of characters to bounce off there. So he just needed that win, and he listened to instructions. And all, if you could probably hear it a little bit on the stream. Like I think Phil says, like just double feint on the jab and then throw the right hook around the corner, and then like 2 seconds later, double feint with the jab and then threw the right hook around the corner and caught him. And that was pretty much the end of the fight. Well, your man got up and fought on bravely and all that, but it was the writing was on the wall from there. So that was a great win for him, and I can see him being out. He's got really big backing. He's got, like Conor McGregor was posting on his on his Instagram about Robert Burke, you know, and he's got, you know, millions of followers. So, and he's got great sponsors and great backing, and he's got family up in Tyrone. His father's from Tyrone, and so he's from Dublin. His father's from Tyrone, so he can fight Belfast. He can fight Dublin. He's got big sponsors. He can go to England, back to Europe. I would say he could fight 4 times between now and the end of the year. And he's 32, so he needs to kick on. He needs to kick on, because these next 3 years are probably going to be his prime ones, you know. He hasn't got a lot of miles in the clock, but he needs to start motoring now. And even if it's painful financially, he probably needs to build that record, you know, start getting the title fights within the next year to 18 months, you know, to move him on. So I was really, really impressed by him, A, as a person, and B, his boxing ability, and C, the way he just finished the fight. So I'm really happy with Robbie, yeah.
Obviously, we just missed out on Owen O'Neill there, but obviously, you know, gym rat pretty much for the last year or so, and probably going to be a bit critical and probably say from what, you know, Dee was sort of saying in the gym and the improvements he's seen of Owen, probably fighting away from home without a crowd, probably lost maybe a wee bit of a 10%, you know.
Yeah, there's 2 ways of looking at that. You know, obviously he gets a big crowd. You've seen the crowds that he gets and how they carry on. Yeah. They're rambunctious individuals that cause, you know, make a lot of noise, create a lot of atmosphere. No, it is good to have them at the shows. It really is. But maybe that this distracts him a wee bit, I think, because in the 2 shows that he's had in Europe this year, he's boxed. He's tried to box. Now, I thought the Luxembourg performance was slightly better than this performance. Some people thought the other way around. But with this, he got caught with a couple of left hooks early on, and that almost took that to get him to start boxing. And then after that, I thought he got better and better and better every round. So that was, you know, a really good performance from him. And I think he's done with his 4-rounders now. I think he'll be on the show. He'll be on Celtic Clash 12 in Belfast in October. He may even headline that or co-headline it, and he'll be moving up in the rounds as well. You know, we've already sat down and agreed on that. So I'm looking for a big performance from him now, because, you know, the stabilizers are off from now on, and we're going to have to see, you know, the camp being done properly, the weight cuts being done properly, the opponents, the rounds, everything's just it's stepping up a level now.
Yeah,
stepping up a level now, and he's ready for it. And he's gagging. He's been wanting for a while, but it's our job to hold the reins, and let him go at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this one coming up now next, that'll be the time to kick him on a wee bit, and let's see how he goes there. You know, he'll either sink or he swim.
And I guess the good thing is he's another 4 rounds under his belt. And obviously, I know when we spoke to him when the show was first announced in Alicante, he was obviously saying, you know, he didn't have a big amateur career and things like that. So the good thing for him, obviously, it's another 4 rounds in the bank. It's another 4 rounds under D in a firefight sort of situation where he's in a fight, and more confidence he take into the next fight, sort of building more. Not that he doesn't trust D, but obviously the more of the trust in what's coming to him during the fight is sort of putting the action. Like
it's good that he had D in the corner. He did have D for the last one because D was away with Paddy, but he had him in the corner for this one, so that was good. But like he listens to instructions, but he does. He's always in good. He's always in entertaining fights. And hello. Wait a minute. Here we go. He's always in entertaining fights. He's always puts the graft in. He gets lured into a scrap. Maybe a little bit less than that and start boxing a wee bit more. But you can't, a Ferrari's a Ferrari and a bloody rally car's a rally car. You can't, both of them are good at different things, and he loves getting into a scrap. That's what he loves. That's what he loves doing. So it's hard to get him to stop doing that because he enjoys it. He's fucking tough little fucker. So yeah. But
I think it's the Cliftonville. Is it the Cliftonville on him? And that bad team.
Well,
bad football team he supports.
We both agree on that. I don't think there's any disagreement between me and you on that one, But listen, he'll move on, and like I say, probably co-main event in the next one, and up he goes in the rounds as well. And we'll see how we get on there.
Next then, looking Jake Haney and obviously Marty Quinn, obviously both of them in the same stable. Obviously, Marty Phil's obviously agreed to the fact that he didn't get the decision. Really tough fight. I probably thought he just lost. But obviously, I sort of said to Marty afterwards, 27 months out of the ring, the positive for him was he's back in action. It's a loss. He's lost before. He come back from it.
Yeah, well, with Martin, I take the blame for that loss, to be honest with you. I take the lion's share of the blame for that loss because he, like you say, he's out of the ring a long time. And this was a late switch of opponent. He was the one we knew the least about. His opponent was the one we knew least about. 2 losses and 1 win, Argentinian guy. Again, he wasn't great. And if it was in Ireland, that would either been a draw, maybe Martin win, but there he just didn't. Again, he wasn't getting anything from those judges there, no chance. And your man was just jumping in and just throwing the kitchen sink at Martin. And I spoke to Martin after. He said the heat really got to him. Now his fitness should be higher. He knows that himself. For a fight like this, where guys are going to put it on you the whole time, and you haven't got the time to recuperate all the time. So we'll have to see what goes on there. And back to the drawing board. We have some big fights lined up for Martin. Now, hopefully that won't scupper it because it was a close enough fight. I don't think why it would stop him getting sanctioned for a Celtic title next. I hope Mel doesn't say, he needs to go and get a win. He might do, but I hope he doesn't. But listen, Marty's probably one of our favourites in the stable. We shouldn't have favourites, but just his personality is infectious. He's mad. He's fucking mad. He's absolutely mad. And it's impossible not to like him. But also, he can be extremely frustrating because he's got talent, he's got balls, and he just needs to apply himself a wee bit more. And I know it's not always easy. But like, you know, he got tired and tired and tired, and now he gave other reasons for it. Fair enough, parts being away from home and in different environments, you come up against different obstacles and all that kind of stuff, and that he says that contributed to him getting tired. Fair enough, but also it has to be your cardio work as well to a degree. Now, if that was scored a draw, I wouldn't have complained. You know, it was a bit like Alan's one. If he'd got the draw, I wouldn't have complained. If Martin had got the draw, I wouldn't complain. If you lost by a point, I wouldn't complain. You know, it was one of those ones. But I think 100%, 100% fit Martin Quinn in Ireland would have beaten that guy. He just would have, you know, he wouldn't have let your man's clumsy attacks land. You know, he would have had a bit too much for him. You know, so.
And obviously a bit more home support and stuff as well would have G'd him on.
Yeah, and then but like Jake, we can skip through Jake. Jake just came out of the blocks, blew your man away, blew the cobwebs off, onto the next one straight away, no problem. No point even talking about that one. That was, you know, he was the one who got a late replacement as well. But it sort of worked out for him that he got a weaker guy than he probably should have, you know. And your man put up very little resistance as soon as he felt it to the body, you know, and he just folded up. So that's Jake. He'll be out probably in our Dublin show, which we haven't named yet. It might be it might not be called Celtic Clash, might be called something else. But yeah, that'll happen for the end of the year as well. But he'll definitely be on that, if not both Belfast and Dublin. It just depends how many fights we can get on the Belfast show. You know, it's restricted to 9 at the moment. So we've probably got 20 people looking to get on the show. So obviously 20 into 9 doesn't go. So we'll have to see how that one goes. But he'll definitely be out on the Dublin one. But we'll have to see how it goes for the rest of them.
And obviously, I know I've Owen Duffy on tomorrow, the butcher.
Yeah.
I was sort of sending him a wee clip, obviously, of his fight. He was sort of, you know, he was positive in the way afterwards. We were sort of saying, you know, it was good he was in a fight where it was scruffy and everything else, because it tested him in ways like I don't know if you can remember him obviously falling out the ring in the second round.
Yes, right in front of me, he slipped back. I don't know if you heard on the stream, like the apron was like that narrow, so you had the rope and then the edge of the apron. So as soon as you were up against the ropes, you're pretty much off the apron. You know, at the National Stadium, it's bloody 2 foot after the ring, you've still got apron, you know. But like he you could see he was nervous and stiff. You know, he's coming off a knockout loss, natural, you know, and it's been that was in Cork, that was ages ago. So, you know, there was a lot of nerves, a lot of apprehension, and there was a lot, you could see it in his work, very stiff to begin with, and that's probably why he was tripping and slipping and falling and stuff like that. I think he fell twice, or maybe 3 times, but definitely twice.
I think he was hitting the back.
He got hit on the back, hit on the back and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was scrappy. But then the 4th round, it was like a different fighter to the first guy in the first round. He opened up. It was like a flower that opened up. That's a little bit over the top language, but you know, he bloomed. He did bloom as the fight went on. You know, and I was very happy with the 4th round. You know, if he can carry that 4th round into the first round of his next fight, he'll be doing well. But he's in a rebuilding phase. You know, he's not at a massive amateur background. He was probably put into fights that he shouldn't have taken. Now, if he was with us, we wouldn't have taken the fights that he lost. Just wouldn't have. Yeah. And now we just sort of got to rebuild him again. And that's the start of it. So again, another guy, massively popular, really well backed with sponsors, can go on the shows in the north, can go on the shows in the south, might even go on and away over to England, because he's got family over there as well. So he could be out definitely once, but could even be up to 3 times for the end of the year. So yeah.
And obviously finishing off, Showtime, my nickname. Showtime in the ring.
Showtime.
Steve McAfee. Brilliant.
Yeah. Like, again, it had a whitewash, except for one judge didn't give him 40-36. and I think you can guess who I'm going to say. Jesus Garcia.
Mm.
So another judge that he won, like your man barely bloody landed a glove on him in the whole fight, and he managed to get around. I don't know how, but it was the same judge again didn't give him the whitewash. But it was very composed. Stephen's been out of the ring for a while, weighed in heavier than he normally does for his title fights that he's been in, but didn't really look any bigger, strangely. It's funny. He still came in good condition and boxed really nicely. Traded a wee bit, which I actually enjoyed. He went up against the ropes, let Gonzalez come on to him, was sort of picking shots off, picking body shots, switching angles, stuff like that. Maybe he was just trying out new stuff, but I was glad he got all 4 rounds in, which is great because it tees up big fights. There's big fights for him there,
mm-hmm.
you know, and he's never turned a fight down. And I like Stephen an awful lot. And the two of us had a wee drink together after, and we had a wee chat, and we have a plan going forward. So, yeah, he'll probably be in a title fight before the end of the year. And then we had a guest, Ashley Sexton, as a guest as well, former British and European challenger. And it was great to have Ashley on as well. And he's looking to come back on a couple of shows because he really appreciated what we did with us. So that was it. I was delighted when the last bell from the show. It's like another weight off my shoulders, you know, because it was just bloody, just glad everyone got their fight. Everyone was going home safe and sound. We got Julio got stopped. That was very disappointing. Martin, slightly less disappointed because, you know, well, it wasn't a spectacular loss, and you know, I knew if he was fitter, he probably could have won that. And also, I felt a little bit guilty because I probably should have got him an easier opponent. And then Alan O'Connor, he didn't lose in my eyes, you know, and you know, probably 10% of people thought he lost, 10% of people thought he drew, and 80% of people thought he won. So he won in my eyes, but he'll be back. But that's it. As if looking back on it, you know, from the outside, it looked. I'm sure it was an unbelievable achievement to do something like that. Like there's no small hall box promoters in England have really done anything. Apart from actually, Kieran Farrell had up in Barcelona the same night as ours, but he was doing it with 3 other promoters. He was doing it with Ricky Powell and Team Saul and stuff like that, and he had 3 fighters on the show. We had 11. You know, this was our show. So I don't think any other promoter, Steve Wood, Steve Goodwin, Carl Greaves, all those the big small hall promoters, and none of them did what we did. None of them have done what we done. And I think it's something that we can, myself, Stephen and Dennis can be proud of, you know, keeping our lads active in the way we have, giving them experience like that, providing opportunities. And keeping them going, keeping the wheels running. And we probably had, I would say, since the show, we probably had about, or since fight week, we've probably had about 6 people ask for us to turn them pro. 3 existing pros and 3 amateurs. So, you know, it's as obviously other people have looked at it and thought that we've done well as well. So, yeah.
Definitely. You definitely take a pause as I say, you know, I know I've obviously spoke to others and stuff since and started saying, you know, because at times in the summer months you'll always struggle to get journeymen and stuff in to obviously the cost and everything else. So maybe it might be worthwhile, you know, you're building contacts there in Alicante now, we do an Alicante show. Yeah. Like if COVID wasn't here,
even in the, like without COVID, like we probably will do a very similar show again this time next year. Yeah, this time next year we'll do a very similar show, but we'll start it earlier so people can, and hopefully there won't be any restrictions on COVID restrictions, quarantining and testing and stuff like that. So we'll be able to, we'll fill the place, no problem. Probably with 5 or 6 fights, we'll fill the place, and be just much more manageable show. And much, you know, from our perspective, we've already, the people over there have got our, we've gained their respect. They've gained ours. They know that we're serious people. We don't let people down. We go the extra mile. You know, like Cathy's fight, like the bloody time we spent on trying to revive that 3 times. unbelievable. You know, we could have just said to Kelly Maloney, listen, Kelly, it's your fighter. You sort out. We got other stuff to do. Go away. But we didn't. Myself and Stephen and Kelly were in the room, bloody phoning people and getting the points, busted our ass to get it. So, like, we built a lot of good relationships and a lot of trust, and that's what we do. That's why we're around so long, so many shows. You know, we're on to Celtic Clash 12 now. We've also done other ones that weren't called, you know, Back in Business, Back in Belfast, Clash of the Titans. So 15 shows in the last 3.5, 4 years. You know, other people come along and say they're going to do shows and they don't even get one done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they fall before, or if they do one, they do not like that feeling. It's a bloody hard feeling to go through to pull a show off, and they don't come back for a second helping. And we're on to our 16th show now, you know, without a TV backing, without massive mainstream sponsors. You know, it's extremely difficult to do something like that. But you know, it's something that we should be proud of, myself, Stephen, and Dennis, to be able to, that we've been able, like, we've got young families, we're work normal jobs, yeah, and we're able to pull this off without disgracing ourselves, like a lot of promoters end up doing. You know, they come and they go, and they leave debts behind them or bad situations, and they just fade into the background. We're still here. We've taken so many kicks in the balls and just had to swallow it because we didn't want to ruin our reputation. So I'm proud of what we've done, and that's another one wrapped up. I'm delighted.